I'm going to be very brief because of time, and we want to introduce some very important people who have helped us to bring this webinar to fruition. First of all, thank you, ACTE National, Laura DiNardo, who was responsible for setting things up. We also want to thank Stephen DeWitt, who is not with us today, but he is the Deputy Executive Director of Association for Career and Technical Education, for helping us with leading some of these workshops and presentations. And for certain, Cheney Mosley, our ACTE Region 2 Vice President, he has been wonderful with getting the troops rallied to get these workshops and things offered for our participants here. Amy McAllister, who is our Florida ACTE person, who is also leading the charge too. And last but not least, we want to have a very big welcome and thank you to Heather Singmaster, who is the Director for Cte and GCEN Center for Global Education at the Asia Society. Her work actually focuses on integrating global competence into career technical education programs at the secondary and post-secondary levels. She is going to be with us today, and we are so very excited to hear all these things that we can integrate into our career technical and education programs. And without any further ado, I'll open the floor up to if Cheney would like to say something and address the group, and then we'll turn it right on over to Ms. Heather.
Thank you. I will be very brief. I think this is my last official action item as the Region 2 Vice President, because come July 1st, I roll out of that seat and Beth Parks will be stepping into the role of Region 2 Vice President. So what a great thing to do is my last activity as Region 2 Vice President. And just thank you, Audrey, for your leadership. I'm really excited. I actually met Heather through I met Heather through our work in ACTE. Get ready, folks. Heather is fantastic to work with. We've been working together for, 4 or 5 years now, and she's going to share some great information that I believe we can all use in our personal and professional lives. So with that, I'll stop and turn it over to you, Heather, and hopefully everyone will hang out with us until the end. And I think, Audrey, are we having some door prizes?
Yes, we do. And if you'll look in the chat, folks, you'll see the link to get to those prizes, but you have to be here the whole time to take part.
I love it. All right, Heather, take it away.
Great. Thank you so much. I love incentives, and I'm really honored to be your last official duty, Cheney, as Region 2 Vice President. I'm really happy to be here with Region 2. I don't think I've had the chance to interact very much with Region 2. I'm over in Region 5 in Portland, Oregon, but it's really nice to be able to connect with all of you. And hello, and if you want to introduce yourselves in the chat, feel free to do that. We can get to know each other a little better. I'm going to share my screen. All right, here we go. Let me go back to the top of my PowerPoint here. All right, so here we go. Today we're talking about global competence as a lens to create inclusive learning environments. We'll start by talking about what global competence is and why it's important, as well as getting to know our students. I'm going to share just about 2 minutes on our global social justice framework that we've created. We also covered this in a Techniques magazine article from November, December. So if you were at the ACTE Vision Conference in December, you might have picked that up. And then we'll talk about global project development and how do we integrate some of these skills into what we're teaching in our courses. And then last, I want to share lots of tools and resources, and I'll also share those throughout. So we'll pop some URLs into the chat box for you as well, so you can access all of those tools and resources. So first, just a little bit about Asia Society. We are a nonprofit organization. We are headquartered in New York City, but we actually have offices around the globe. Our overarching mission is to help increase understanding about Asia for Americans and America for Asians. So really helping with increased global understanding. And we do that through many different ways. We're interdisciplinary. We work in business and arts and culture and policy. Our education work is a little different. We're not just focused on Asia, but really about global education and global competence, and really helping students develop those skills to live and work with anyone from anywhere. So this won't be a presentation just about Asia or just about Asia curriculum or anything like that. So we are talking about global competence. So you'll see on the screen here are 4 domains of global competence. And we worked with stakeholders from throughout the field of education to create this definition. People in business as well as educators, of course, we worked through the Council of Chief State School Officers to get state education offices involved, parents, everybody that we could. And so this definition has been widely adopted by states and districts across the country. And rather than me talk about it, I want to share a quick 1-minute video that gives an overview of this definition.
There are 4 key elements of global competence. Global competence starts by being aware, curious, and interested in learning about the world and how it works. Students are able to ask globally significant questions, analyze evidence from multiple sources, and develop an argument that draws defensible conclusions. Students recognize that they have a perspective and someone else may or may not share it. They weigh all sides and from that incorporate different perspectives into their point of view. Globally competent students effectively communicate their ideas with diverse audiences, including through the use of appropriate technology. While English is the primary language of business, speaking another language is important for collaborating across borders. By applying what they have learned, students can translate their ideas into appropriate actions to discover solutions for both local and global challenges. We now face a critical imperative to prepare all students for work and civic roles in an environment where success increasingly requires the ability to compete, connect, and cooperate on an international scale.
So we know that students need academic skills. Of course, they have to be able to read and write and do arithmetic. They also need those technical or those hard skills specific to the CTE program that they're in. What sits in between those and brings them together are the employability skills, or you may call them workforce readiness skills or career readiness skills, 21st century skills. We have a million names for them, right? Soft skills as well. And that's where we see the global competence piece fitting. We want our students to be able to communicate. We want them to be able to work on teams. They need to have curiosity, problem-solving skills, all those things that you see when you look at the surveys of what businesses want, or when you're talking with your business partners, you'll hear them say all these things. But we believe we should be teaching these skills through a global lens. So that way students are able to communicate with anyone from anywhere, work on a team with anyone from anywhere, whether that's here in the United States, where we're increasingly diverse, or whether it's because they're working for a large company, or they're working on an international team. Now that we're all working from home, or a lot of us are working from home, and there are a lot of jobs that are remote, you never know who you'll be working with. So we need to really prepare our students for that. And in doing so, we can give them a leg up on others who may not have these skills, because these are skills businesses keep asking for. In addition, that definition of global competence really includes being interested in global challenges and realizing that they affect us locally. So to be knowledgeable US citizens, we need to understand these global things that will affect us no matter what our careers are. It could be the global supply chain, of course, is a big one right now. Understanding that there are wars happening in other places of the world and they affect us. Of course, the pandemic, inflation, global climate change, all of these things cannot be solved on our own, and we have to do that with others. So having that openness and realizing how these global issues can affect us locally is really critical as well. So I wanted to do a quick activity with you all. We're a small group, but I think we can still do this. I'm going to ask you to go over to Nearpod. And when you get there, look for the student box, this red box, and you'll put in this code QH9WB, and I'll put this into the chat box so you have it. So you can open up a new browser window. You can just do that within your web page, or you can do that on your phone. You don't have to be looking at the Zoom screen. And you can be anonymous. Let me just put the code in here. You can, it says to type in your name, but you can type in whatever you want. You don't have to type in your real name. And I'm just going to switch my view over to the Nearpod. So when you get there again, you're going to look for that red box for the students and type in the code and put in your nickname. And let me put in the chat again, it's nearpod.com. I'll give you a second to get there because I know it takes a minute for everybody to log in. And you can see here at the top of my screen, the code is there too, the QH9WB. So again, you don't have to look at the Zoom, you can just look at your web page on your phone or on a browser window. All right, we have a few people in. I hope everybody else joins. Come over to nearpod.com. We'll need your ideas. It's not difficult. It's going to become a fun little activity, totally anonymous. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to think about how the skills that we're teaching our students are going to be relevant in the future. So we're going to do that by first thinking of an invention or an innovation that will exist in the future that doesn't exist today. So you can type your ideas down in this box on the bottom. I always like to use the idea of flying cars because we were promised flying cars by the Jetsons ages ago and we still don't have them. So just type in your idea and then you click the little arrow button, it should pop up. So type in any idea, any invention you think will exist in the future that doesn't already, and pop it in there. One idea per card, but you can put in as many ideas as you want. So let's get a little brainstorming going. You know, it's a little early in the morning, but let's get some ideas. I love the idea of holographic instruction. You can teach from anywhere. Oh, Cheney, one washer and dryer that folds laundry. That's a great idea. In our house, everyone folds their own laundry, including my son who just turned 12, but he's been doing that since I think he was 8. Living in virtual reality, love that. City, on a space station where everybody lives on a space station, that's great. Oh, the Jetsons self-cooking and cleaning kitchen, yes, I would love that. I do most of the cooking, but my husband gets to do the cleaning, so he would really like that idea. Living off this planet, yes, I guess living on Mars could be a possibility in the future. A self-vaccination machine, ooh, yes, we wouldn't have to deal with all of the lines and getting our appointments. Yard work, somebody else doing your yard work, I assume, Nathan. All right. Virtual vacations, that would be great. We could save on all those crazy flight costs and gas costs. At home health evaluation system, that would be great. All right, I'll give you a couple more seconds. Other ideas. Cars designed to allow you to take meetings while operating them. Yes, that would be great. And we're getting there with the self-driving cars, I think, but ability to view the mice in my walls. Oh no, I don't want that one, Joy. Virtual health screening to detect illness before it occurs. That would be amazing. All right, so you see the little like buttons in the corners. You each get 2 hearts. So click on the 2 hearts that the 2 ideas that you're most interested in, and we'll see what bubbles to the top. I'm going to organize these by most likes on my screen. So everybody gets to click on 2. All right, so far the self-cooking and cleaning kitchen is winning. I love that. All right, holographic instruction. Did everybody click on 2? All right, it looks like our Jetson self-cooking and cleaning kitchen won. I love that one. I've done this exercise a few times and I've never seen that one before, so that's great. Usually people do teleportation and everybody picks teleportation, so I'm glad to have something different. All right, so now we're thinking about our self-cleaning and cooking kitchen. What careers will be needed to make this a reality? These could be future careers, these could be current careers, but what careers would be needed to make a self-cleaning and cooking kitchen a reality? So again, type your ideas in, 1 idea per card. Maintenance technicians, yes, I imagine a lot of things could go wrong in the self-cleaning kitchen. Enough goes wrong in my regular kitchen. Service repairs, a chef to help program, yes, recipes, engineering, coders. Always need coders these days for everything. What else do we have here? Designers, mechanical engineers, all STEM, yes. All right, I'll give you a few more minutes for ideas. Lots of engineers, sales reps to sell the kitchens, yep. New IT technologies, optical networks, ooh, definitely. All right, so now again, you get 2 likes. So you get to click on the 2 ideas that you like the most, or maybe the career you think is going to be most useful and most required. We've got plumbers too, and electricians to install. All right, so click on those hearts for the ones either you're most interested in. Oops, sorry, hold on. Okay, now you should be able to see them all. Okay, we've got technicians bubbling up to the top. I like plumbers. I'm clicking on plumbers or engineers. Oops. Okay, oh, we've got lots of ties today. Let's see. So we've got coding, IT, engineering, human collaboration, engineering, plumbers, coding, IT, engineer. All right. Oh, farmers to produce food that will be cooked and prepared. Wow, we've got lots of good ideas here. It looks like engineers and coders have won. All right, so we're going to go with an engineer who's going to one day be working on the self-cleaning, self-cooking kitchen. So let's say right now in your course, you have in your class, you have a student who one day is going to be an engineer working on a self-cleaning cooking kitchen, which is something that doesn't exist yet. What academic and technical knowledge would be needed for this job? Let's focus on academic and technical knowledge. We'll save those soft skills for the next screen. So type in your thoughts again. What are the academic and technical skills that a student would need if they're going to be working as an engineer one day on a self-cleaning cooking kitchen? Physics and math, economics, advanced math, lots of math, design, aesthetics. Yes, I love that idea, Lisa. Math, lots of programming, culinary, right? It would be good to at least know something about cooking if you're programming and developing this whole kitchen. Chemistry, reading and writing, of course, yes. Architecture, right? You're going to be building in different types of spaces, right? Spatial design, knowledge and skills, prototyping, engineering design process, technical reading, food safety. I love that one. You definitely have to know about safety and sanitation if you're having a self-cleaning kitchen, self-cooking kitchen, right? All right, good. So we have a lot of different ideas here. And then next, let's think about, this is our last screen. Let's think about what global skills and competencies would be needed for an engineer who's going to be working one day on a self-cleaning, self-cooking kitchen. Again, type in your ideas. And let me make sure you can see all these. There we go. All right. Analytical skills, interpersonal communication, lots of communication skills, right? They're going to be working on a team. This is not something you can build by yourself. And we're assuming we need some global communication skills because you never know who you'll be working with. And I'm sure this is going to be something that people around the world are going to want. It's not just going to stay in the United States. Knowledge of electrical systems around the world, yes. Different places have different standards, and you have to know what those are if you're going to be creating things that will be exported to be used in different kitchens. Curiosity, solar power, thinking about sustainable energy in the future. Cultural awareness, we have different types of kitchens in different countries, right? A kitchen in Japan may look very different from a kitchen here. I lived briefly in Hong Kong where the kitchens were super tiny because the apartments were very small. So how can you fit everything you need in? Metric system familiarity, yes. All right, so we have lots of great ideas. So what I like about this activity is it really helps you think about the fact that we are educating students who are going to have multiple careers over the course of their lives. And the skills that we give them can apply to many different jobs. They're going to be doing these in a global environment. And so when we give them these global skills, we give them a step up on the competition. We also help them be prepared to live in our global interconnected world, no matter what it turns out to be, no matter what kind of world we're living in, where we're driving around, teleporting, or flying cars. We need these basic skills just to be able to live in our increasingly shrinking world. I also like Nearpod. If you haven't used it before, it's a great way to get all students involved in what they're doing and what you're doing. If you're doing virtual remote classes, it's a good tool. I think you can have up to 20 or 25 students use it for free. After that, it's a small fee per year, but it's just another tool you can have in your toolbox to do activities like this. Let me switch my share back. All right. So that just kind of gets you thinking about how these skills can be used on the job and how they can really help prepare students for the future. Going back then to this idea of global competence, another tool that we've created that I wanted to share with you are rubrics for each grade level that really more concretely lay out these skills. So what you see here is for the domain of recognized perspectives. For grade 8, this is the rubric. We want our students in this proficient column, although this is a continuum. So developing would be proficient for grade 7, emerging would be proficient for grade 6. And so depending on where your students are at, what they've been exposed to in terms of these skills in the past, you may want to look at different columns. But these really help you understand what these skills are. And then you can use this for assessment. Choose a couple of them, I would say, from all 4 of the pages of the 4 global competence domains. Don't grade students on every single one of them or every single one in the column, but really the ones that are most relevant for the project that you're doing. But when we're thinking about inclusive classrooms, I like this recognized perspectives one, because this is really where we're thinking about understanding diversity in our classroom, where we're thinking about respect for others, empathy for others, and thinking about how someone's background can influence how they understand the world and their opinions, which is really important for students to understand, to be knowledgeable citizens in the world, but also just good learners in the classroom. So this is here for you. And at the end, I'll put a bunch of these links into the chat so you can copy them. Where you can find everything, though, I wanted to mention our toolkit. It's at asiasociety.org/CTE Toolkit. And so all of the different tools and resources that I'm going to be sharing with you over the next half hour can be found in this toolkit. There's a section for students. There's a section for secondary, which is middle and high school, and then our post-secondary toolkit. And some of these overlap and are actually in both secondary and post-secondary. So when you go in, there's a drop-down menu and there's a lot in here. We're not going to go through all of this because it would take us forever. But I did want to share that those rubrics are under the section called Standards, Crosswalks, and Rubrics. So if you click in there and scroll to the bottom, you'll see the Asia Society Global Leadership Performance Outcomes Rubrics and ICANN statements. So that's where you can find those rubrics if you want to look a little bit more concretely at each of those skills within the 4 domains of global competence. So we're not going to do this activity. This is the one I originally wanted to do with you, but we are doing a webinar format, so I can't put you into breakout rooms. But what I was going to have you do is pair up, and then you'd ask each other some questions to get to know each other better. And they're about your background, and maybe places you've traveled, what your cultural connections are, what languages you might speak, when you started teaching, why you were inspired to start teaching, how do you feel overall about your educational experiences, things to help to get to know each other a little better. And I'll show you where you can see these questions as well if you're interested. But the idea is to really start to know someone, to connect with them personally, and then to see how their perspective is influenced by the world and the experiences that they've had in education or in their jobs. And then to think about, okay, do we know that type of information about our students? Because if we know our students at a deeper level, if we understand some of these questions about them, we can better individualize our classrooms for them. We can better include them in the classroom. If we understand their diverse backgrounds, we can bring some of that into our classes. How do we discuss different places in the world? How do we discuss different backgrounds? And if we have students from those backgrounds, we can bring in their perspectives if they're willing. We never want to put them on the spot and ask them to share unless they're really willing to do that. Getting to know our students at a deeper level can also assist in career preparation and developing their specific global skills. We have to know where they're at before we can help them advance, right? So we have some tools to help you do that. We can also help activate their background knowledge in new ways and connect to that previously learned information that they have. So we have a few tools to help you get to know your students a little better. First, we have the Getting to Know Your Students questionnaire, which is a Word document survey that you can use to get to know your students. You can either give them the whole survey, or you can just pull out a few questions if you already have a survey that you do, but you want to think about some of these more diversity, cultural competence type questions. So that's there for you. Everything is really meant to be free, and second, really flexible and modifiable for your specific situation that you are in, wherever you're teaching. The next thing we have are our conversation questions. So these are also some of those questions I just shared on the bingo card, but they're really used to spark conversations in class. You could have students pair and share, you could do a journal writing assignment, or you could just use these in casual conversations with students to kind of feel out how they are in sharing some of their diverse knowledge and whether they're willing to bring that into the class. And then the last one is our Cte Journey Assignment, which is to help you understand where students are at in their Cte program, what their goals are, what certifications they might need, what skills they might need to develop. So again, you can better differentiate and individualize your classes. And bringing in that cultural competency piece can really help students from diverse backgrounds feel more respected in the classroom. And of course, that will lead to more persistence when they feel that inclusion and engagement. So just a couple minutes on our global social justice framework. We wanted to look at the idea of social justice and how that combines with the idea of global competence. And so really it's about engaging all students in these respectful, collaborative learning experiences where we're teaching students to respect and value perspectives of others. That includes looking at international sources for possible solutions to challenges. And I say this because we often think in the US that we have all the answers, everything's here. But many times other countries, people in other countries, companies in other places are already working on solutions to certain challenges locally. And we can learn about those and bring them back and adapt them here for the United States. So helping students to be more open-minded about other ways of doing things, whether that's internationally or whether that's just locally, will of course be a big skill for them once they get out into the world of work. The second point here is around creating that culture and selecting the curricular materials that reflect students' backgrounds and life experiences. Again, we have to first get to know our students before we can do that. So using some of those tools to get to know students at the beginning of the semester, beginning of a program, and then integrating that into our curricular materials and culture. And then, of course, providing equal opportunities for participation in these internationalized programs and activities and our work-based learning opportunities as well. This is the actual framework we created. And as I mentioned, it was in the November, December techniques, which isn't really showing up on the screen. So if you have that laying around, there's an article about this. You can also go on our website in the toolkit. The section on diversity has this global social justice framework. And at the end, I'll put this in with all the other links. But you'll see we have the 4 areas for global social justice: effective engagement of students, diverse instructor experiences, including bringing in more diverse instructors into our programs when possible, active reflection as educators. How are we reflecting on what we're learning and our students, where they're learning, and then providing those authentic student experiences. And then we have this framework for implementation, which you see around the outside. So if you download this, it goes more deeply into each of these 4 areas, and then the actual way to implement it through this implementation cycle here on the outside. So if you're interested, that's a tool, again, available for free. It's really for more at the programmatic level, but you could find ideas as well as if you're an educator. So what I wanted to talk about next, before I get into some more tools and resources, is how do we start implementing some of these global pieces into the projects that we're doing in our courses, in our classrooms. And so this is our framework that we use. It's called the SAGE framework. You'll see each letter stands for a different area. So the S is for student choice. So when we're thinking about creating a project, we really want to start with giving students some kind of choice up front, if we can. And this could be anything from choosing the partner that they're working with, to choosing the topic that they're working on. Maybe it's just choosing a country that they can do a comparison with. Maybe it's choosing the role that they're going to play in a simulation. Or maybe it's the actual product that they'll be creating. Are they writing an op-ed? Are they creating a web page? Are they welding something specific that they're going to then use within the community to help improve the community? There are many different options, of course, depending on your CTE program. But if you can give students some type of choice at the beginning, it will really get them to take more ownership and deepen that engagement in the project. A is authentic experiences, which of course we do a lot of already in CTE, that real world meaningful work like they'll be doing once they get out on their jobs. But this also includes really giving them those project management skills, helping them to do timelines and budgets and decide on team roles, very clearly outlining those roles, and then also giving them feedback throughout the project and the opportunity to revise their work as they go through. Because as we all know, when you get out on the job, you're not just turning in the final product for a grade, but you're really working with clients the whole time. You're working with your boss, you're working with your board, and you're constantly adjusting and making changes as you go. So if we can give them that opportunity, that just sets them up better for the world of work. The G here stands for global significance. We've been talking about that a bit already, and I'll go into that a little more. But the last one here is E, exhibit to a real audience. And for this one, I like to use the hierarchy of audience from Ron Berger. So as we go up this pyramid, you'll see the motivation and engagement go up. At the bottom is really presenting within the school walls. So presenting to you as the educator, presenting to parents, or presenting to their peers. They do that all the time, so it might not be as motivating and engaging as when they're up here presenting to people capable of critiquing. So people who know the type of project that they're doing, who work in that your CTE area, who know about the specific topic maybe, or the specific country. So really presenting to people who are knowledgeable about the topic that you're teaching. And then at the very top here is to be of service in the world. And so this is important, especially when we're thinking about STEM jobs, but also CTE jobs and women, girls. We know, of course, there's a disconnect between girls and STEM. And there have been some studies that show part of this is because girls want to be altruistic in their careers. They want to improve the world, and they don't necessarily see how our STEM skills connect and can do that. I think that's similar for CTE. They don't see how they can, make a difference in the world. And so if we have students doing projects that are globally focused, we can connect those CTE skills directly to ways to improve the world and help get girls and women more interested in these careers and persist in these careers. So how do we do that? So if we're creating a global project, we actually often start with local issues, local topics. So with student choice, we may want to ask students, at the beginning of a project, what matters to you? What is something you see in your community? What's something you see on the way to school every day that concerns you? What types of issues do you see in our town? And then if they sometimes, of course, our high schoolers will say, nothing matters to me. So then you may have to have them dig a little deeper, research current events. They can do that online, of course, but you could also have them talk to people in the community. They could ask people at the local hospitals, somebody at the mayor's office, somebody in the local Kiwanis or Lions Club, Workforce Development Board. Now that we have the Zoom culture, of course, it's easier than ever to get people to agree to a quick 15-minute interview to talk about the local issues and challenges that they are facing. And then once you do that, then we'd like to connect to the global. And the way we do that is using the UN Sustainable Development Goals. These are a set of goals that were unanimously agreed upon by every country in the UN, so including the United States, with the goal of meeting these by 2030. So when you look at these, they're big. We're probably not meeting them by 2030. And even the ones we have been making some progress on, we got set back a bit because of COVID. But you'll see they're around eradicating poverty and hunger, providing healthcare for all, quality education for all, reducing inequalities, a lot around climate action or cleaning up water, land, responsible consumption. So you'll see there's a lot of different topics here. And if you go on the website and look at these and you click into one of them, there are more specific targets under each one. And so, for instance, if you take affordable and clean energy, there's a specific target under household air pollution. So in many places, the cooking stoves that women are using are unclean, they're polluting. And that includes here in the United States where our gas stoves produce household air pollution. So it leads to a lot of health issues for women and children. So you can see how you could create a project around that topic, creating a new cooking stove. You could have older students create an actual prototype. Younger students could draw something. They could come up with ideas of how we could have cleaner ways to cook. So these just provide a lot of ideas. They also get at that idea of realizing that other places around the world are facing the same issues that we are, because all of these would connect to your local issues and that they have different ways to solve them. Different companies are working on specific goals, different countries, different cities are working on specific goals. So it's a really good, interesting way to get students hooked into some of these international topics and issues. So we did create a set of classroom projects. So if you go in the toolkit under classroom projects in either post-secondary or secondary, you will see a list of projects aligned to the Sustainable Development Goals. This is cut off, but there are 17 of them. They're meant to be highly flexible and modifiable. So they're about 3 weeks long, but you can make them shorter, you can make them longer, you can make them easier, you can make them harder. You can do extension activities, you can do them for younger students, or you can just look at how we frame the topic for each goal and use that to build your own project. Oops. So those are there for you if you're interested in using them. They're Word versions, so you can take them and modify them and use them how you like. The other thing we've created is what we call the GREAT tool. It's the Global Readiness Examples and Topics. And I'm just going to share that with you so you can see it. So if we click in, it takes a minute to load because it's pretty big. What you'll see are the 16 different career pathway areas. So you can click into any one of these. We'll click into STEM since we were talking about STEM a lot this morning with our self-cleaning cooking kitchen. And then you have these 12 different career readiness skills that were developed by Advanced CTE. And for each one, you can click into it. And it gives you an example of how you would use that skill in a global way on the job. So this one is around the fact that, you know, scientists who come up with different research are often international teams of scientists. So they have to be able to communicate clearly. This is the household, there's one on household air pollution. This one's around affordable housing and creating sustainable housing. So there's different ways that this skill is used in a global way. There's also different topic ideas you could use in your classroom, or even project ideas that you could use in your classroom. So if you're interested in kind of getting started, this is a great place to come for ideas because we do have them for all 16 different career pathways. And I would say, as you're starting to think about how to implement this, to really start small, start with one project, add a global question or topic within it, and build from there. Or you can start with one project that's really global, a short one, and then build it and make it bigger from there. And so one example, I wanted to just share a couple of examples of what this looks like in the classroom, and I'll share a couple of resources and give you time for questions. But this is an example from Tara Barashek, a former ACTE Teacher of the Year. She's an agriculture teacher in upstate New York, and knew when she started that she wanted to teach in a global way, but she didn't want to completely overhaul her curriculum because she was a new teacher. And so she started with one project. She had her students think about where they could source the ingredients of a cheeseburger for every season of the year. So they're in upstate New York. So when they got to winter and they started thinking about the lettuce and tomatoes, they were like, oh, wait a minute, where does that come from? And so they started thinking about sustainable agriculture. And then the students started a campaign to support local farming and their local farmers markets. The next year, Tara had her students raising trout. So she went online and found a classroom in Ireland that was also raising trout. They were doing, I think, ocean trout. She was doing freshwater trout. So they compared and contrasted what they were doing. And then that led her the following year to actually taking her students to Ireland to meet with the students there. And so now every year, and of course not during COVID, but she has her students travel abroad at the beginning of the school year. They choose a sustainability issue, they choose a country, they create a business plan for going abroad. They have to go in front of the school board to get the approval to do it. And then they go and they do some service learning over spring break or over the summer. So that's how something that started really small with one project really grew into something that she now uses to really get students hooked into agriculture. They stay within the field, a lot of them, because of this interest in the global connections. This is an example from a community college in Charlotte, North Carolina, Central Piedmont College. This is Professor Ripple, who teaches career firefighters. And he has his students do at least one global assignment a semester. He often has them looking at a comparative analysis of different policies in firefighting in different countries. So one year his students looked at the role of female firefighters in other countries. So when they got to a country like Iran, where women aren't allowed to be on the same squad as men, and they have all female firefighting squads, that was kind of an aha moment for students. And that's what he wants, students to realize that their way of thinking isn't the only way of thinking. That they need to really be able to work with each other. And he wants to build that morale and trust, because of course, they're going into life or death situations every day, right? And so if you can't trust and work with those other people, you're going to be in trouble. Same with the local community, which is very diverse. He wants to build that morale and trust. And so giving them these international comparative projects, students are highly engaged in them. They see different ways of thinking, different ways of communicating, different ways of working on a team, and they produce some of their best work on these global assignments. So now for tools and resources, a few additional tools I want to share with you. We've just created a new set of student modules. So these are good for students in high school and middle school, as well as community college level, post-secondary level. They're all free. Students can earn a certificate of completion when they finish, and we're hoping to offer badges through ACTE in the fall as well. Each module is about 15 minutes and they're highly interactive. So if students do all the activities and reflection activities, it could take them 20 to 25 minutes to complete a module. These are the 4 modules. The first one really just defines what global competence is. The second one shows why global competence is important both on the job as well as in the community. And then the third one is helping them to really specifically look at their career field. So we use that great tool that I just showed you so that they can really see how these skills are used on the job within their pathway. And then we also have videos of employers talking about the global nature of their jobs. So we have those for the different pathways as well. And then the last one really helps them understand how to articulate these skills in a job interview. So we go through the STAR behavioral interviewing method and students practice with that. So those are all available for you. And again, I'll put the URLs in the chat box at the end. In addition, we've created student assignments to go along with each of those 4 modules. So what you see here on the screen is just from module 1, but if you have your students watch module 1, there are some extension activities you could do with them to deepen that understanding and go a little deeper with them in the classroom. But then we also have resources for teaching that module content. If you think, oh, my students are tired of being online and they don't want to watch another module, you can teach some of these concepts yourself, and we have activities to help you do that. So for each module, you can either teach the content on your own, or you can assign and do extension activities, or just assign them to do the modules either way. We also have modules for you as educators. We have 2 different sets, so I'll share them with you. The first set is for educators of grades 6 to 12. These are all done in conjunction with ACTE, so they're on the CTE Learn community. If you haven't been there, I highly recommend it. There's just a ton of really good material in there, a lot of it free, including these modules. And they're, again, online and interactive. They introduce these concepts of global competence, high quality project-based learning, as well as project management and how you can help your students get those project management skills. And then as you go through the modules, you create your own globally focused project aligned to your specific standards that you're teaching that you can take and teach in your classroom. So again, these are on CTE Learn, and I'll pop this link in the chat after I'm done here. And we have some specifics to STEM, although these are really good for teaching any CTE course. So I recommend these, the career readiness, STEM, and CTE. We also have a second set called Cte and Global Competency. But either set are good to help you learn about these skills and develop your own globally focused project. And then if you're at the post-secondary level, we also have a new set of modules that's just coming out now. And these are all online and ready to go, so you can access them. Again, the same idea, really to support internationalization at the CTE level at community colleges. And so we have 10 new modules. The first 2 are kind of introductory. What is global competence? The core ones are 3, 4, 5, and 6, where you take one of your syllabi and you internationalize it, starting with your learning objectives, then your course content, and then your assessment. And if you are doing a lot of work with business and industry partnerships, module 7 and 8 could be of use even if you're at the secondary level, because they really help you think about what industry partners are already doing international work, or how can we reinforce these global skills in work-based learning locally. So you may be interested in those as well. If you are interested in watching any of those career profile videos of people talking about the global nature of their jobs, there's a video section within the toolkit. If you go there, you'll see a whole set of videos of people being interviewed, from chefs to accountants to project managers to people working at the local electric company, somebody at Walmart, Ford. But these are great to use directly with students to help them see that these skills really are being used within their career pathway. And these are the ones that are also used within those student modules. So I just wanted to point those out. And then finally, within the toolkit, there's a section called Cte Career Pathways. If you click on that, you'll find all the different resources related to your specific pathway. So if you're in agriculture and you click there, you'll see all the projects, the videos, the standards and rubrics related to teaching agriculture globally. I will stop there, and I'm happy to take any questions. This is my LinkedIn QR code on the screen. This is, again, the link for the CTE toolkit at the top here, asiasociety.org/CTE toolkit. And if you dig in there, you'll find all those tools and resources I just shared. My email, I'm always happy to answer any questions, especially if you can't find something in the toolkit. Just feel free to reach out. And I'm also active on Twitter at @Singmaster, so feel free. And if we can, we'll share I'm happy to share my slides as well. So let me stop here. I'll take any questions, and I'm going to pop some links into the chat for you as well.
Thank you, Heather. As you're putting those questions in, I would encourage everyone to take a look at the chat box. Some of you may not have noticed that or have seen that. So if you want to be eligible for a Region 2 door prize drawing, there's a chat that says place your name in the chat for today, right? So if you're interested in participating in the Region 2 drawing for door prizes, put your name in there, and then you will be notified by 3:00 p.m. Eastern time today.
Exciting. Put your name in. I like Region 2. I haven't been with any other regions that have done a drawing and given door prizes. This is great.
And actually, they will, there's a link there. If you'll click on that link, it'll take you to a Google form that will allow us to be able to do that drawing a little bit more randomized. So we're trying to get it that way. Just collect just a little bit of information so that we can contact you from there.
I just put my email in the chat box again, so you can all grab that.
Yeah, thank you, Audrey. Sorry about that. It's more than putting your name in the chat. You need to click that link and then put your name in there so we can randomize the drawing.
Yes, thank
Maybe
you.
drop that again. Maybe drop that link again for those who are just now tuning in so they don't have to search for it.
Okay, let me go back again and grab it up. Okay.
There it is.
That is for the drawing. I don't know about the rest of you, but I am super excited because I was doing a rewrite of some of my curriculum, and this is so on point for me. I'm just like, let me tell you, here's my notes for this and my notes for that. So I'm just super, super excited. This is so timely for me. I cannot tell you.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Wow. And I do work-based learning too. I just really, one of the things I was thinking, you were talking about engaging students. I love the question that you were saying, what matters to you? What do you want to know? What are you curious about? I can't wait to look at the activities, but some of the activities that you may have that may engage them more, because sometimes kids will just kind of sit there and not. You ever had any experience with that, or how we can overcome some of that a little bit better?
Yeah, sometimes you have to really kind of individualize and work with students that way. I think if you can we do in the modules have an activity called the question formulation technique. I highly recommend it. It's called the QFT. It's from the Right Question Institute, but it basically has students get into small groups and they brainstorm questions around a topic. So you could give them either a broad topic or maybe a smaller topic, depending on, what you're teaching and what would be most relevant. And then it's a process for brainstorming the questions. And students really love that activity. Because it's a small group, it gets them all involved. And then they come up with all these different topic ideas, and they do it in a fun, not really competitive way, but a way that really encourages voice from all of them. So it's in the modules if you go to our modules, but otherwise you can go to Right Question Institute and look at the question formulation technique. It's a really great one for getting students involved. Oh, and it looks like Adrian says, I love the QFT. Is there a way to save this chat? I don't know. Laura, do you know if there's a way to save the chat?
So I can save the chat. You should, if you are able to do it in the chat, you'll see a little kebab 3 dots next to the emoji icon, and that's where you can click to download. I'm not sure if that's enabled for participants or not, but I have it saved. So if anybody wants to get access to that, I can share it later on.
Yeah, it doesn't look like we can download it, but and yes, somebody says overwhelming, Joanne, overwhelming, but fabulous resources. Sorry, I know there's a lot. So I tried to pick out, and that's not even half of the resources that are in the toolkits. I tried to pick out the main ones. And then if you explore, hopefully you'll find other ones that are relevant to you as well. It's always hard to choose which ones to share because there are so many.
Just pick 1 goal, 3 goals for the year and move in that one and then go to the next 3.
Right.
Okay. Well, we want to say that we certainly do appreciate your time today with delivering this presentation. Like I said, for me, I know it's very timely. I know for everybody else here too, it's wonderful, wonderful information that we can use to have some global competence for our students, and not only for them, but for ourselves. And we thank each of you all for joining in today, and wish you a summer that is very productive and relaxing also.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, Audrey, Cheney, Steve, Laura.
Okay, and thank you all.